and this is the new norm on Black Enterprise, where I speak to business leaders, influencers, and high profile figures about the impact they're making in the world. Today, I have the privilege to speak with Dave Ogleton, the humorous force behind Fit Dad CEO, a father of six, and the self proclaimed funniest dad on social media. With more than 1 million followers on Instagram and almost 36 million likes on TikTok, Dave reaches nearly 20 million unique accounts online each month, and he has partnered with brands like the NFL, Lowe's, Uber, and Apple TV. His content has been shared by celebrity parents like The Rock, Will Smith, and Khloe Kardashian. Today, Dave joining us here to talk about his rise to social media stardom. Dave, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, I want to start by just talking about when and how you created this online persona.
Oh man, I mean, the name it goes back 10 years. But the brand recently, it has I've been using the brand like the name in the last 3 years. And it started with just doing fitness content years ago. And it kind of slowly morphed into what I was more comfortable with doing, and it was just making people laugh.
So, have you always been a comedian?
I'm not, I don't even consider myself really a comedian, to be honest. I just have always kind of been like a joker, and it kind of just transformed online. So
I mean, it blew up. Okay, like again, you have millions of followers. I've been following you. I've been seeing your jokes even before. I kind of knew it was you. I was just like, oh my, I would see your jokes all the
mhm.
time. And of course, we all laugh at them. How did you master the art of the dad joke?
I didn't want to do the same typical dad jokes everybody was doing, and I knew there were people that were already doing dad jokes. They've been around for years and years, and I by accident fell into this like whole no dummy thing. And I remember Red Fox always used to say this to his son on TV, and I did it in one video and it took off, and then I never did it again for like 3 months, and I was like, why am I not doing that more of that? And so I went back to doing it again, and then the next video took off, and the next video took off, and I just decided to roll with it, and it transformed the way that I saw the dad joke really.
When did the video start to take off?
Right around like the pandemic time. It was 2020. I think actually it was like late 2019, and I didn't do my first like actual dad joke until 2020, and then that's when it all just started to spiral into this machine of what it is now.
So your life has literally transformed within a few years.
Yes.
Within 3 to 4 years, you've become this big social media phenomenon. Where do you get inspiration for your material?
Oh, I mean, right here at home. I mean, honestly, like I wake up, I have inspiration. If I go, just to eat breakfast, something's gonna happen during breakfast where I'm gonna be like, I need to write that down real quick. Or if I see, something online that's going on, a celebrity is in the news, I'll try to think of a joke that I can do because it's current, and usually that seems to work as far as like the algorithm.
So how many videos do you create a day? Do you create your content in bulk and then spurse it out when it comes to uploads? Like how do you do, or do are you creating in real time when you just get inspired?
It's all of the above, honestly. Like it really, I always tell myself I need to get some sort of schedule of when I need to create content, but it's sometimes it's really difficult because, like you said, we have 6 kids, and their schedules can be, oh, someone forgot something, I got to go run and drop this off to school real quick. So for me, it really is a lot of like inspiration, and if something strikes me in that moment. One of my most viral videos I've ever done was something that I got off the phone with my kid's school, and I was like, I was emotional in that moment, and I was like, I need to make a video about this, and it ended up blowing up. Didn't expect it at all, and so it's a little bit of both. If I have something that I want to schedule, then I'll make sure I have a couple things scheduled. Like my dad jokes, I can do those back to back to back. I can knock those out real easily. But the skits and things that I do sometimes need to sit and write and go over them over and over again with myself. And then, like I said, sometimes in a moment, I just hit record and just go with it.
You know, one of my favorite jokes that you've done is where you compare parents in the 90s versus now. And you got, so you were doing this skit, or, and you were saying, like, you got a phone call from your child's teacher, and they were like in the 90s,
Hmm.
and it was showing like you could literally have like a fever, a stomach ache, be throwing up, and you were like, just give them some tussin and some ginger, they'll be fine. But
Hmm.
today, if you barely have half a cough, it's like, come get your kid and do not bring them back.
Yep.
Like, just the relevancy and the timeliness, I think, is what's really catching our eyes and just making us laugh. Is that something that you were sort of inspired to do? You talked about this rise happening during the pandemic. Was that in the back of your mind at all?
It was, and honestly, a lot of the time that I was creating during that time period was just out of pure I wanted to give people something to be entertained by. And that video that you're talking about is the one that I was just talking about a minute ago, where I actually got off the phone and I was just like, I was so not annoyed with the situation, but kind of was just like laughing at the situation. And I knew I had to make a video about it. I didn't write a script. I just hit record and just started talking. And it took me 2 takes to make that video, and then I just hit upload. I think I changed my outfit or something for the second part of the video, but that was literally, yeah. A lot of the stuff, like I said, from that time period was just because I knew people needed to be entertained, and when I got feedback from people that this made my day, even though I'm like stuck in the house, I was like, okay, I got to keep doing this now.
I love it. So, how are you sort of able to build this community of other dads and just lovers of dad jokes?
Because everybody loves dad jokes. Like you love to hate them, you love to roll your eyes at them, and I think everybody always needs something to laugh about during the day. And like I said, when even now to this day, I still get feedback from people that are like, I had a really rough 2023, and I your videos helped me to get through. And when I get messages like that, it still kind of blows my mind because I'm like, all I'm doing is just something that I love doing anyway. But the dad community itself, it just seems to be growing, and I think it's really cool to be able to see other dads that are not just being funny, but also showing like they're active at home and they're doing these things to continue to keep their family growing.
When you said everyone loves a good dad joke, it just brought to mind my favorite dad joke, which I say every at the top of every year. As soon as I see a family or friend, I'm just like, I haven't seen you all
Have
year. And I'm like, I'm like, I love that joke. And they're
It's
like,
a classic. You have to everybody has to do that at least once.
you have to do it. But you're right. I just think that, we found so much connection through comedy, especially during the pandemic. And it was, thanks to you and other influencers and comedians online that just continue to reach us and to pour into our hearts when I think we all needed a good laugh.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you said, if you look at the majority of obviously social media blew up a lot during that time, but a lot of the content creators that I was seeing were the comedy ones, and it's because people needed that laugh. And it's cool to be able to see a lot of those people that I kind of started with, when I blew up during that time, who are also doing the same thing.
So, what's your secret formula to viral content?
I know what my audience likes, and I know that I can hit multiple different audiences as well. And like just for example, that '90s video that I did, it hits an audience from my time period like we're like ancient, but it hits it hits the people who grew up during that time, whether you are a parent during that time or you were a kid growing up in that time. You're gonna remember from your experience what that was like, and I try to make my videos according to that, no matter what I'm doing. So I'm always trying to hit more than just one audience when I make my videos, and that's that. Like I said, that's kind of like the formula that I've gone with is just looking at the most relatable, broad thing that I can find and honing in on one thing in that topic. Like even if it's relationships, I just posted a video, a few minutes ago, and it's like if I can find that one thing that annoys a couple or annoys a spouse with the other person, but I can make it comedic and make them laugh about it. That to me is always going to be something I think is going to go viral.
I find that fascinating, just the way the mind works and how you'll take all situations and turn it into something funny and clever. Like that's like genius. That clearly only comedians and funny people like yourself have that ability. Have you always been like the funny one in the family or the funny person like that?
I like to think I am. I don't think everybody else would agree with that. I think I always tried to be funny, and then I didn't really hit my stride until like I was older. So I think I'm funny. Everyone else probably would say no. But like I said, my that's why I don't consider myself a comedian. Comedians can like go off the cuff, and that'll happen for me every once in a while. They can riff really easily. I need to think about my stuff when I do it. You know what I mean? Like I need to like build it, and sometimes it's not just something that's spared a moment. That's like a rare thing for me. I do need to sit and think about what I write and what I record.
Yes, and speaking of the way you create the content, I want to shift gears and talk about how it's become profitable for you and your family. Um, Talk about that. Like, how and when were you able to monetize this social media persona and community that you built?
I think the first time that I realized that I could actually make money doing this was probably middle of 2020 when I had a brand reach out to me and they were like, "Hey, we have a campaign and we want to pay you, X amount of dollars." And I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll do that." But what happened was I started taking all these deals myself, and I didn't realize that I was being almost lowballed for a lot of these. And that was when I made the decision to find a manager that could actually negotiate and get what I was worth. And that's one of the things that I try to tell a lot of creators, like to give yourself time to make more money, to make more content, get somebody else that deals with all the rest of that stuff for you.
That's so important. Okay, so the partnerships, I mentioned a few at the top of this interview, Apple, NFL, Lowe's. How are you able to secure those? Are they coming directly to you? Do you have a team that's scouting and looking for those partnerships?
Both. So sometimes they'll come to me and I'll just forward them to my management team, and they do a lot of outreach themselves as well, and they will do a lot of pitching for brands that I specifically like and I like to work with and I use every day. That's one of my not stipulations, but that's one of the things that I want to do is work with brands that are organic to me. So it's easy for me to say, hey, I use this every day. Hey, I use this app or this service or this product every day, and I know that if I'm using it at my age, a lot of my followers who are around the same age are probably going to be interested in hearing about it too. So I want to try to make it as organic as possible, and that's usually why my a lot of my campaigns and the ads that I do they do really well.
Yeah, like the one you did for Bounty was so good. Because
Yes.
like I was just a dad of six. There's always messes and there's always
Mhm.
spills and like you were just cleaning up. So I thought that was really good. In addition to the brand partnerships, I see you have a merch line.
Mhm.
Talk about that and like where the inspiration came from that.
So I've one of my staple shirts is it's not a dad bod, it's a father figure. And my merch store is currently paused, like closed right now because I'm actually redoing it and taking some of the old stuff out that doesn't work and just restocking some of the stuff that is working really well. But that one staple shirt, that like flagship product that I had, that started even before my social media blew up. I had that when I was still doing my fitness content, and it kind of just happened to work its way into what I was doing already because it was such a perfect dad pun.
Yep.
And so I've sold thousands of those shirts, and
Mm.
I'm looking now to really get into more of like the athleisure clothes. So we might see something of along the lines of more like athletic, like casual wear in the future.
Okay, so outside of the partnerships and the merch, are there any other ways where you were able to monetize any other different avenues?
I'm surprisingly, I'm actually getting acting offers, and
Oh,
yeah, I mean, it's yeah, it's pretty crazy. I've always wanted to do some, I've always wanted to be in entertainment as a kid, so being able to do this is awesome. But yeah, I'm getting acting offers, potentially working on a book deal. And yeah, so there's definitely ways that I'm monetizing outside of those two things, and that's really what I want. I want multiple different avenues of income, because social media, like, it could be gone tomorrow, so I
yep,
had to make sure I'm
yep.
thinking for the future as well as right now.
Before this blew up in 2019, what were you doing?
Nothing. I'll be honest. I was, and a lot of people don't know that they saw me online. They saw me doing my nutrition business, and I was kind of in a space where I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what I was going to be doing, and I'm 30 something years old, and I was like, my wife, she had her own successful business at the time, and so she was the breadwinner, and I wasn't used to that, to be honest. And so I was like, I need to figure out what I'm doing, and this came along at like the perfect time, and being able to monetize it. And now we, are pretty financially set right now. And to be able to have that kind of freedom where we can make our own schedule and everything else it's pretty amazing.
Okay, so you were you had your own business. So you were
I
doing
had so I was doing a
something, but
nutrition business at the time,
gotcha.
and then
Okay.
I kind of was in a transition phase where I was like, I didn't don't want to do this anymore. I was kind of sick of hearing myself say the same thing over and over and over again,
So you were phasing
and
out of the business.
I was phasing out of the nutrition business. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, and you're on social media. So what is it? What was that first video that blew up? I don't know if you can recall, but what was it that really, I guess, took you from doing nothing to, oh shoot, I might have
Yeah.
something here.
So I guess the spark that it really like kind of took things off, where I was like, oh, I might have something here, is a video that I'm pretty sure is buried way down. But it was a Carlton dance video that I did, and I've always done this like Carlton dance thing, and so there was like a challenge going on TikTok at the time, and I decided to upload this video, and I was like, this is so dumb. I'm like 30 something years old uploading this video to TikTok, and for some reason it just took off. And then right after that, I was like, okay, let me keep doing this. Made a couple more videos, they flopped. And it was one that I made a joke about. What was it, LeBron James? I think it was. Yeah, it was just a video that it was a 6 second video. I said one thing, and it got like, I think it got like 900,000 views or something like that. And I was like, what? I was like, hold on a second, this doesn't make any sense. And so I was like, this is not funny to me at all. I was like, what about this is going viral? But a lot of people were like, it's your personality. And they were like, it's the way you delivered it. And I was like, okay, let me run with this. And that was kind of where I was like, oh, that gave me the confidence to be like, okay, I can do this in front of, millions of people if I ever, get that
So this was
audience.
on TikTok,
This was on TikTok, yeah.
2019.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So question: did you have like a vision for this, or was it happenstance?
Happenstance, total happenstance, because I had been stuck, I think, on Instagram at like 25,000 followers for years, and I was just like, okay, this is just gonna be like my page for whatever I want to post on it. And I can say I've always had a vision to use social media to make money, but I just didn't see how I was going to do that. And now being able to do it this way, it almost is like a dream come true, because like I said, I've always wanted to entertain people even as a kid. I just didn't know what route I wanted to take. And now it's kind of like it was almost like the bricks were like laid in front of me without me even like knowing it. And I just walked the path.
Amazing. So, are you someone who like studies the algorithms and studies social media and the craft, or are you just organic and flow? Upload and
I'm
let's
a
see
little
what
bit
we
of
got.
both. Yeah, yeah, I'm a little bit of both, because I know people will obsess about the algorithm, and I'm not one of those people, because guess what? It's going to change and we're not going to know it, and things are going to happen behind the scenes that we don't know about. And it's more about just like, are you connecting with the people that you need to connect with? And that really is the thing for me, is if I'm putting good content out there, it's going to work. And I know when my content sucks, and I tell other content creators the same thing. You need to be able to say to yourself, it's not the algorithm, it's you. Your content's not good right now, period. And I know it's harsh to say sometimes, but it's true. If your stuff is not getting seen, there's a reason why it's not getting seen. And I had to go through the same thing. I think it was like early last year. My All of my views were down, and I hadn't even hit a million. Actually, I don't even think I hit 500,000 on Instagram, and my views were down like early. And I had a good boost from the year before in 2021 or 2022, but I just kept working on my stuff, and then all of a sudden it was like March. I think it started taking off, and then I posted another video midsummer, and then all of a sudden it was like I posted one video and it took off, and I started getting hundreds of thousands of followers within like a month,
Mm,
and that was when things started to like really take motion. So it's not I'm not an algorithm person per se. I do pay attention. I watch videos every once in a while, but I'm more of like a am I connecting with my audience kind of mindset.
mm, and how, what is it? How are you reaching new audiences?
Posting new content, and that's one of my challenges for this year for myself is like I want to post more sports content. I want to post more fitness content, but I don't want to get so far away from what got me to where I am that people are just like, no, I'm not going to follow this. You know what I mean? So like I'll post NFL content every once in a while, and when I do, it typically does very well, but that's because I know my audience and what they like. That's the thing. So then, and that's one of the things that I'm working on this year is to show people the other sides of myself and what I like, because I know that's some things that they probably like also. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm not on here to always be going viral. Sometimes I just feel like posting something just to post it.
Mm. You talked a little bit about some of the next steps and acting, things of that nature. That's why I wanted to actually talk about that before we wrap up. What is next for you? Is it your own TV show? Is it skits, comedy, movies, Hollywood, LA?
I mean, I've been out to LA. We went out last year as a family, and that was awesome. We've been to New York a bunch of times. I'm kind of just letting things come as they do, but I'm also being proactive about pitching brands that I really want to work with. If there is an acting gig that comes my way, then I want to be able to say, yeah, you know what, I am going to give that a try. But I also want to be proactive by taking acting classes, which I've never done before, and doing the things that so when those moments come, I'm ready for them.
I was going to ask you, are you in acting classes? You gotta
I,
get in
I,
there.
it's, it's funny. I see a lot of the my fellow content creators that are out in LA, and they do the acting classes, and some of them have already been on multiple TV shows. I see some on commercials, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for that right now. Like, and I'm totally
Are.
fine with that. I'm sure other people will say I am, but when it comes down to it, I feel like I don't want to push into something that I don't want to be 100% on. And not 100% because you never know what's going to happen, but I feel like I want to be at least skilled in some way to be able to say I can read that script, I can remember it without having to do 100 takes. You know what I mean? That's because I've done that already. I've done a commercial where I've had to do that, and I've had to do several takes for it. And I just said to myself, I want to be more prepared for it next time.
Gotcha. Yeah, preparation is key, but you got this, and I can't wait to see you in some more
Thank you.
movies and acting and alongside Will Smith and doing stuff like that. I think that'll be super
That
dope.
I already said before I started doing this, if I ever got Will Smith's attention at all, I would quit. I'm done. And so when he shared that video, a couple years ago, I was like, I'm done. I retire.
But it just gave you the momentum to keep going.
Yeah.
Before we leave, Dave, if you could just leave us with one of your favorite dad jokes,
Oh
it could be
man.
or anything could be something that's already popular and out there, something new, but just leave us with a little something.
I'll tell you one that I told I think at in Disney. Why does Peter Pan never tell dad jokes?
Why?
Because his punchlines never land.
Thank you so much, Dave. Again, the self proclaimed king of the dad jokes. We look forward to your content and everything else that you have in store. Thank you so much for speaking with us here at Black Enterprise.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.